what does it mean for Penn State to now be able to put on a normal blue and white weekend like the pre-COVID times?
I mean, I think to me the biggest outcome of it, the most positive thing for Penn State is probably from a recruiting standpoint. I mean, last year they had what do they call it, a scrimmage or whatever, where tickets were made available to the public, and believe it or not, like half the tickets were bought by high school football prospects. But no, this year you can get guys in on like legitimate recruiting visits, which is big for any program, especially Penn State, where if you look at the Penn State recruiting calendar, there are 3 big dates every calendar year. There's a blue white game, there's a Lash Bash barbecue in July, and then obviously the whiteout in the fall. So to be able to have that regular blue white weekend recruiting that they have not had since 2019 is a big thing for the Nittany Lions. On the field, I don't think it changes too much. Like last year, for example, they were still scrimmaging against each other. They're still getting their practices in. So it wasn't that much different from what we're going to see in the blue white game this year. But from a recruiting standpoint, it's huge for Penn State to have that back. And, no matter who you talk to, I know that's something we've talked about on the show in the past. There are a few staffs in the country who kill it on recruiting visits quite as much as James Franklin and his staff. And there are a few programs in the country who need those visits more than Penn State does in order to have a successful recruiting class.
Well, I guess speaking of successful recruiting class, I know we're kind of jumping around here, but they've pulled in some big fish lately. Not through the transfer portal, landing Damian Robinson, who transferred out of Maryland after 1 year there, and it's oddly enough that's a recruitment that's come full circle now because Penn State was hard after him for the 21 class. He local to me in Montgomery County, Maryland, played at Quince Orchard High, which has churned out its share of D1 football players over the years. Also turned out a former Penn Stater, Bonnie Baju, who you might remember, played linebacker in the early mid-2010s. Then also landed Andrew Rapplier. I think that's how you say it. Flipped him from Michigan, actually. 4-star tight end out of Massachusetts. And it goes again to show what you say, the fact that they can have people on campus again for recruiting without any restrictions of any kind in place. You're definitely seeing a difference. I mean, you started to see the difference with the 22 class when I know a good chunk of those guys committed back when there were still restrictions, when there was still a NCAA moratorium visits. But even once things opened up, they were able to keep that class intact and then add some. And you're seeing that continue now with the 23 class. So I think, like you said, it definitely makes a huge difference. Speaking of return to normalcy on campus, spring practices have been in full bloom. They're just about coming to an end. Blue white's going to be next Saturday.